Welcome to another edition of the 24th Floor. We are in the last week of February, last week of Black History Month as we're recording this. But of course, there's never not a time when it's okay to shake a black man's hand.
I think you mean not okay.
Not okay to,
It's always okay
is Ruben
to do it.
Diaz, yes.
Thank you so much for joining us on another edition of 24th Floor. There is a lot to talk about today. We're talking high school hoops, college hoops, but of course, we got to start with
We got to start with the NBA, and we start today's show with a chat about a team, it's roughly 20 games left. The Memphis Grizzlies, they've drifted away from playing contention to full-fledged rebuilding, but not tanking. We got to be careful there because we're not trying to get teams fined. No, they're not doing that. But things have got a bit silly.
20 games left in there. I think they're 22 games behind at this point. So
Yeah.
several different starting lineups have been out there. You got point guards playing all over the place. You got G League dudes getting minutes who nobody even knows, and who knows why they got contracts sometimes. Guys, as you said, with more what?
Letters in their names than points they average. It's just all over the place for the Memphis Grizzlies. So joining us on the program, he's a frequent friend. It's been a minute since we had him on. He's from Grind City Media, the co-host of the Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hurt. He's the latter of that, the self-acclaimed solid B-list Memphis celebrity, the capital P producer, podcast personality, Mr. CJ Hurt. What up, man?
What up, y'all? I think that's a great way to end it right there. That introduction was superb. I'm out.
That's what I'm saying. You were about to run out of breath. I didn't know if you were rapping or introducing it for a second.
Hey, man, I keep it well-winded over here.
Let's get rolling, though, because we talk all the time about what in the world is going on with the Grizzlies. But now, let's bring CJ into this. And can you just ask the question?
What are we doing? It's gotten silly. It's gotten weird. It's gotten silly around here. What are we doing with the Grizzlies, CJ?
Man, I think if you follow the NBA and you follow professional basketball, you know what this is. You know that this is a franchise that came into the season with two different paths. They could go into contention mode, or they could go into rebuild mode with one move. And they came in, and unfortunately, things didn't go the way that they wanted it to go. They ended up moving on from Jaren Jackson Jr., getting 3 firsts for him. And once you move on from Jaren, you already have moved on from Desmond Bane. Once you move on from those two, it becomes clear, okay, this is now a rebuild. And if you're rebuilding, you need as much talent as possible, as much future talent as possible. And the way that the NBA is set up right now, the way to get future talent, the way to get young talent is by going out there and grabbing it in the draft, especially if you are a small market team in one of these smaller markets who's not going to be able to go out there and sign big time free agents. So you got to be able to get the draft right. And the more picks you have in the draft, the better your chances are of hitting on somebody good. If you got one pick in the first round and it's high, that's cool. But what's better than one pick early in the first round? Multiple picks in the first round. And that's where the Grizzlies sit this year, with multiple picks in the first round. This is about growth and development for some of the guys already on roster, some of the guys you plan on keeping around for a while. This is a chance for them to go out there and get meaningful NBA minutes. But this is nothing more than growth and development, and a chance to try and get the best possible draft pick as you possibly can for the Grizzlies.
But is that tough, though? Like, if you follow the NBA, then you probably get some of that and you realize, okay, well, this is what we're in. But if you're just a casual NBA fan and you're a Grizzlies fan and you don't realize what's actually happening, how tough is that, though, for those fans to realize that, you're showing up to games with no real intention of us winning at this point?
It's incredibly tough. And while I'll say this, you don't want losing to become a cultural thing. So you just hope that guys are going out there and doing their best and not going through the motion. And while the Grizzlies have had really odd lineups on the court by force because of injuries, the guys on the court are out there doing their damnedest to compete and doing their damnedest to win. So whether it's Jamal Meshack or Omax or Cam Spencer or whomever, if they're out there, they're out there busting their humps trying to go out with a win. And you kind of gotta, you absolutely have to appreciate them for that. And having that type of competitive fire. They're out there playing against Precious Achua in Sacramento, who's got 2 centers out there on the court, and they don't got any. And their tallest dude might be Omax on the court, right? And everybody's out there just fighting and clawing and trying their best. Are they playing out of position? Absolutely, they're playing out of position. Are they fighting? Yes, they are. And that's something that I think for the rest of the season as a fan, this team will hang their hats on. As a fan, you can tell when dudes are trying and when dudes are maximizing the most out of their potential and out of the situation they're in. And I think as a fan, you'll have a deeper love for not just the players playing right now, but the sky's great right now. The sun will come out real soon. And when that sun comes out, it'll make it all the better for you. It'll make the victories all the sweeter for you because you made it through this tough stretch of Grizzlies basketball.
Well, CJ, if you're a fan now, I'm guessing you're just really enjoying the vibes because you can pay more for a McDonald's medium fry than you can for a Memphis Grizzlies ticket. I mean, I can go to Wendy's and I get a whole 5 for $5. I get a whole Baconator, and I done spent more money than I done spent on the ticket for the Grizzlies games.
Listen, now is the time. If you got kids, if you got a family, now's the time to bring them to the Grizzlies game. Now's the time. You can get in. It can be real affordable for you, baby.
I'm talking about I can spend $30 and I'm sitting the court side right there with Jai, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, man, listen. Maybe not quite court side, but you're close. You close. You can make out faces. You can see faces. You can hear what they saying. Yeah, absolutely, man. Seriously. What if you got a family, and I know ticket prices for a lot of live events have they've gotten out of hand a bit and made it real difficult for families to be able to get out there and enjoy the event. Like, you can get to an NBA game, you can see NBA players play, and even if it's not the best of the best NBA players, even though you're not seeing a Steph, or even though you're not seeing a LeBron James, or even though you're not seeing a SGA, a Jokic, or Wemby, it's still the NBA. These are 450 of the greatest in the world to do this thing. They're still really, really good. You're going to see some spectacular feats of athleticism and get some fun little moments, right? You never know when a basketball player might accidentally go into the crowd and step on a high noon and have it spray everywhere like Russell Westbrook did, right? And so there's some good stuff that happens. So absolutely come out there and support the team.
Do you guys ever watch South Park? Did you watch South Park?
Yes,
CJ?
I love South Park.
What this reminds me of is the episode where they're playing baseball and both teams are trying to lose. Right?
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so the dad's getting in the fights in the stands all the time because he's, this is America.
I didn't hear no bell.
Yeah, that's what this reminds me of when I watch the NBA right now. It's like we're playing good enough to compete, but then it's at some point somebody's going to have to decide who wants to lose.
People would call that an ethical tank. That's what they're doing. They're playing an ethical tank.
Yeah, you don't have to go out there and be on a roll and then pull all your good players if, hell, all your good players is injured. So you just send everybody out there and say, hey, whatever happens, happens. Let the chips fall where they may. Let them fall where they may. And again, the players aren't trying to lose. The Grizzlies are just in a really, really tough spot where you guys brought it up. You got G League players being forced to play. What ends up happening with Omax? Because he's right. It's about time for him to stop being able to play in the NBA. I think he's got 9 games left on his 2-way deal before you either have to sign him or not either. You have to sign him if you're going to keep using him. So you got that going on. You've got 10-day players out there as well. And again, you got dudes playing out of position on a routine basis, and it's been that way all season because of the untimely injuries. At one point in time, you had Cam Spencer and Vince Williams Jr., speedy recovery to Vince, by the way. You had them as your 2 point guards. And if you looked at the roster and what you hoped the roster was going to be, neither Cam Spencer nor Vince Williams Jr. would be a point guard. You'd go Ja, you go Scottie Pippen Jr., you go why am I blanking on my man who came through from Cleveland?
Ty Jerome.
Yeah.
You go Ty Jerome, right? Those are your point guards. And now, because to start the season, Scottie Pippen was injured, Ty Jerome was injured, Ja ended up injured for periods of time there early in the season. You're looking up, you're like, okay, it's time to go to our fourth and fifth best point guards, and that's Cam Spencer and Vince Williams Jr. And I think both of them fared admirably in that position, but they just aren't the same type of talent as those other guys in that position. So, it's been that way for the Grizzlies since the start of the season, and now it's just continuing to carry over. I understand how it can be frustrating for fans, man. Believe me, somebody who's got to talk about it every day. It ain't easy. Boy, it ain't easy, man. But you just this is what makes being a professional sports fan fun. You don't really get to enjoy the good times. You don't get to properly contextualize the good times without going through some of these bad times as well, some of these leaner times also. And then you can always pick a player that you like. Everybody's got a dude on their favorite team who's like, yo, that guy, he might have it. There might be something there. For a lot of people, it's Gigi Jackson, where it is,
Yes.
okay, let's see what Gigi has going on. Let's see if Gigi, if his game has really grown, if he can continue to get downhill, attack the basket, be a competent defensive player. And so far, Gigi has rose to that occasion and met it, and in a lot of ways surpassed it. So there are those types of things you can look forward to and look at from a Grizzlies basketball perspective during the rest of the season.
There's many directions we can go out of this, CJ, but I kind of want to talk about something that happened off the court. And I'm sure you've heard the news from Anthony Edwards, Draymond Green, talking trash on Memphis hotels. Yeah. Now, CJ, you've been in this city for a long time. I had to ask our boss, she doesn't like me calling her boss, our newsroom leader, where do teams stay when they come in? She was telling me the Hyatt Centric. And so the players didn't name specific hotels, so I don't know. But is it really that bad when teams come into town? And what do you think that says for our community that the Grizzlies, Memphis, the market is just not in well regards when it comes to teams coming here?
So I love downtown. Love all the businesses in the city, but we're talking about downtown. So I love all the businesses downtown. Love all the small businesses, locally owned businesses downtown and in the greater Memphis area. I will say that I've stayed at some downtown hotels. I've had family members stay at some downtown hotels. They could be a bit better. They could step this up a little bit, maybe a lot of it. But those comments have been some that I've heard echoed before, and I think that not too often. Sometimes we hear somebody critiquing Memphis is like, oh, that person just doesn't get it, hating on blah blah blah. Whoop, whoop. Those might be closer to true than not. Wish them. I think that you've got to take, if you're a hotel downtown or you're a hotel where the NBA teams are staying, you got to hear those things and take it to heart. And it's like, okay, hey, since you brought it up, what particularly happened? What was the issue? How can we make it right as a company? And I think that it allows for you a chance to become a better hotel and by extension a better ambassador for the city of Memphis, where downtown is such a cool spot in Memphis. You got Beale Street, you got the river right there, Tom Lee. That park is really, really nice as well. You have various festivals coming through. Main Street is right there, the Orpheum, right? Like there's some really cool stuff. When people come into downtown, they want to come into Memphis, they want to stay downtown because it's a cool spot of town. Lorraine Motel, not too far from Sun Studio, you are, as a hotel, one of the first things and the main thing people interact with and see when they come into town. And you want to, put your best foot forward, not just for you as a hotel brand, hotel company, but from a city standpoint, because that can a bad night stay can ruin a trip. The trip can be awesome. I don't care where you go. If you're at Disney World, you're at Magic Kingdom, it could be incredible. You can be kicking it with Mufasa and them, right? Like, it's going to be awesome. But if you go back to your hotel and there are amenities missing, people at the front desk are giving you poor customer service, well, that's going to leave a sour taste in your mouth. I hope that the people who need to have heard it and are listening, And I hope that they make the upgrades and the fixes, not even upgrades, the fixes that are necessary, so that that's not the perception of them and their brand and of the city of Memphis. Memphis is better than what some of these complaints are, and I know that the city can do better. So take it to heart, please.
All right, so CJ, we have 1 minute left in this segment, so this has got to be quick for everybody. I'm going to ask you, who do you think the Grizzlies should take in the upcoming draft with their first pick? Again, we only got 1 minute left.
How the hell can I make that quick? Like,
say a name.
They are
Beyonce style. Say my name.
Whoever's the most talented. This is a team that needs to be in the position of talent acquisition. Whichever player is on that draft board, when you pick who you think is the best player, go get them and figure it out from there, man. That is all I need. This is a generational draft. There's so much talent here. I don't think you can go wrong with any of the top 10 to 12. Go ahead and take the player most talented.
All right. Denson, you get the last word because we got to get out of the segment. Who do you think they should take?
Right now?
Yeah.
Michael Brown.
Yeah, let's go. I got off the Derek Peterson.
Well, I mean, they're not going to get the number one pick.
If you had a choice, who would they pick? Who would you want them to pick?
Michael Brown.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, I know we got to get out here. CJ's almost out of time. We're almost out of time for sure.
CJ, real quick, tell us what you've been working on, man, at Grind City Media.
Well, it's just a Jessica Benson show, Monday to Friday, 8 to 9:30, or basically 8 in the morning till whenever the hell we finish. Got the Odds Couple as well coming up on Mondays and Thursdays. Both of those 2:00 p.m. on grindcitymedia.com. Also, I host HBCU Huddle with Ronnie and Mike and Kyra. So we got that going on. That usually drops mid to late afternoons on Thursday. So that's one of those. If you watch one of those or listen to one of those, that's where I'll be at, man.
All right.
We always appreciate you, CJ. We will definitely have you on the show soon, sooner than later. We won't make it happen so long. Make you wait so long. Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, CJ.
I appreciate y'all.
All right, time for a quick break now with CJ. We talked about it before the cameras start rolling, and that's high school basketball. We got a new district champion, the Bartlett Panthers. When we come back, freshly minted off of that district title win, we're going to talk about it with the head coach of the Bartlett Panthers boys basketball team. Stay close. Welcome back. We are smack dab in the middle of the postseason for high school basketball. As we record this, there have been several district champions crowned. And for some teams already, their eyes are set on the region tournament.
It's like the best time of the year, right? You get through the regular season and now it's playoffs. One of the pillars of high school basketball, though, in the Mid-South is the Bartlett Panthers all season long. From the very beginning, they have been the top team in the state of Tennessee. And in fact, as we're taping this right now, they're coming off beating the Houston Mustangs. Not once, but how many times?
3 times. 3 times. Yes, Mustangs, as I was so into it that I mistakenly called them the Cougars during my highlights. My bad. They let me know about it on social media. But joining us on the program, fresh off that win, he is the head coach of those Bartlett Panthers, Mr. Dion Real. Coach, welcome to the show, and congrats on the win last night.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys having me, and thank you for that. Yep.
Coach, can we just start with congratulations are in order for a phenomenal season up to this point, no matter what happens, right, going forward. What an amazing season for your team.
I definitely appreciate that. I'm hoping that whatever happens is bringing that gold ball back. That's our goal there.
Now, Coach, I like to say on my sportscast that you guys are all about business. You sit in the front of the plane because you're all about business. When you look at your team, y'all play a very ethical brand of hoops. There's nothing really flashy. Y'all are get down, y'all defend, y'all wait for the right opportunity to score. Just tell me kind of how you all are so even-keeled in the moment, because you look at this team, you don't really got a lot of seniors. You look at some of your best players, they're underclassmen like Braylon Williams and DJ Okoff. So just kind of tell me how you got young talent like that to buy in and be so disciplined.
I guess the biggest thing would be, as far as age and grade wise, I mean, you would look at those two and Dylan Jones and say, hey, they are returning a lot. But the one group that kind of gets lost in this is our senior class. Well, we've been very, very fortunate to have those guys, Sidney Thompson, Axton Perry, Marlon DeChaussee, Jaden Mitchell. They've been here for 4 years. And then you throw in Ethan Gatewood and Amari St. Anne. They've been here for 3 years. So our seniors, they do bring in a bulk of our load. They don't get the notoriety of the other three. But with all that being said, you throw in the youth with those older guys. A lot of them, most of them played last year, and we took our lumps last year. Something that we talked about at the beginning of this year, the end of last year, going into last season. One thing that we're talking about was if you were going to get us, last year was a year to get us. And when we got to be willing to live up to that. As we come down this stretch run here.
I love that phrase. Yeah, if you're going to get me last year because I'm coming for you eventually. Question, at what point in time during this season, and it had to been, I would assume, fairly early, did you realize this is a special group? Like, at what point? Was it in preseason? Was it after the first big win? Like, when did you say, man, this team is special?
Of course, the talent is definitely there. And I may get in trouble for saying this, but it is what it is. Our first game, we played at Milan High School against Rossview, and we were up fairly decent at halftime, but we weren't doing some things the right way. And halftime, we went outside and we ran, and they come back in and they responded, and they took off to a different level. And I told our coaches, I was like, man, that was my one shot. That was my one shot to kind of say, are you in or are you out? And when they come out back from outside after halftime, they were all locked in. And I'm like, uh-oh. I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know if I shot it too soon or whatever. But ever since then, of course, we've had a lot of big victories this season. They've responded, the resilience, it continues to show. But I would say in the beginning of the year, our preseason stuff was pretty difficult this year. Hey, everybody's here for a goal, and that's how I kind of feel right now.
Coach, you talk about big wins. I say you guys are a show that can travel. You all have played games. You played Wheeler, which was the top team in Georgia. You've played Pope John Paul. You went to Illinois. You went to Missouri. You've beaten teams there. When you look at your game you most recently had, it was at Arlington High, not your home turf. But to go in there and you have a very talented Houston team, and it's tough to beat a team twice, but let alone beat them 3 times. In a game like that, where it came down once again to the buzzer, just kind of walk me through how it was for you coaching that in the heat of the moment, because I know like every possession, and Ruben and I talked about it before the camera went on there, with it not being a shot clock, and you saw it last night, when Houston had a 1-point lead, they held on, they pounded the rock and held on to the ball, but you all found a way to force them to turn the ball over, get the ball back, take the lead, and close it out. Just walk me through all of that.
Oh, wait. First of all, it was a wild scenario, so I don't know how much coaching was involved in that. Players being players, for one. To speak on Houston as far as their talent, and Coach Sabo, Houston Mustangs, they do a great job. Man, Justin Fryson,
It is incredible.
Jordan Miles, Caleb Davis, man, they are top heavy, and it's a really, really good program. For one, let me say that. And again, a lot of people don't realize this. For a lot of this year, they've been top 50 in the country, so they are a
Yep.
really good program. They do a good job. But that last scenario, that fourth quarter, it's one of those things where, like I said in the very beginning, we've been through a lot of situations over the last 12 months. That's kind of prepared us for that last year. And those scenarios, it probably would have won a different way. We kind of experienced that a lot last year with youth. I think the even keel is, hey, we've been here, we've done this before. Don't get too high, don't get too low, don't let the moment get too big. Definitely don't let it get too low. As far as coaching wise, like I said, we have a lot of good players, and the worst thing I can do right now is get in the way. So try to stay out the way and try to keep my emotions at an even keel also.
There is a lot to be said, Coach, for what you just said. Is that in those last few minutes, I can't tell you how many times I watch games and it's the last couple of possessions and the teams just don't execute, and sometimes it's because they get overcoached. And so to your point of letting your players just go make plays when the game is on the line is very admirable. I will want to ask you, what do you do now to get everybody ready for what's next, right? Because it's a whole different push now.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of hype and a lot of publicity and a lot of, rah-rah about how good the team is. But how do you keep them centered and focused and ready to accomplish this goal?
Well, and again, as you're asking me that question, I'm sitting there thinking about the first thing I said is about taking them outside and running them. That may be something. Right. We may need to go outside and hit this track today to kind of get refocused and get ready. No, it's you know how it is. And these are teenagers. Emotions go all different ways. Biggest thing is trying to keep them controlled, and they do a good job of that on their own. We have non-negotiable things is our attitude, effort, and our energy. Really, really reemphasize those. Your attitude. Things may go good, things may go bad, but one thing that can always stay consistent is our attitude. So just re-emphasizing our non-negotiable stuff. Hey, man, we got to be good at these three intangible things if we plan to take a big step Saturday night against Central.
Oh, and see, I didn't get a chance to touch on that in my sports cast on Tuesday night. You all are taking on a Central team that at one point in time was right up there with you as one of the top teams in the Mid-South. Now, they have cooled down a bit lately, and Whitehaven has kind of surpassed them. But you all know, I know you all aren't sleeping on the talent that is Central. Tell me about what it will take to lock in and beat a team like that and advance in the region tournament and, like you said, hold that gold ball.
Again, this is a very well-coached team. They're very talented. Coach Watkins does a great job. We've had them in a do-or-die situation. This will be the third year in a row. So it's one of those things where we have to come out. We got to be locked in. They are fun to watch, difficult to play against because they just coming at you. They're going to put most of the time at least 4, sometimes 5 guys out there that can all shoot the three-pointer. Along with be able to go right and left. So it's going to be a difficult task for us to keep them in front of us. And then again, that zone, that matchup zone they play, their man, they get after you. I mean, we just got to lock in. We got to be able to execute and be good. It's like you said, this is a really, really tough opponent, undefeated over half the year. And you look at the situation they're in, and it's like, man, how in the world do we end up with Central?
I know. I said that last night when that happened. When I looked at the brackets, I was like, wait a minute, what? I was like, Central Bartlett first round, and I'm like, Houston's like, well, at least we don't got to play them in the first game.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a tough, difficult matchup. But you look at our region, and this has been the case year after year. I mean, it's going to be some really good games Saturday night here in Memphis in that 4A class, and I'm pretty sure 3A, 2A, and 1A is the same thing.
I was going to say the same thing. I mean, there's so much talent
in that region.
Yes, there's probably not an easy matchup. You know what I mean?
I talk about it all the time. It's you guys, it's Whitehaven, it's Central, it's Southwind, it's Houston. That is like a bloodbath, a murderer's row. Like every night you're going to get somebody good. Coach, when I decided to make high school basketball a premier thing again and not be solely focused on football, it was nights like last night that kind of made me happy while winning that. You obviously were on the sidelines coaching, but that crowd at Arlington High, standing room only, it was a packed house, and Arlington's not even playing. It's you guys in Houston. Just tell me how it feels, for high school hoops to be so prominent in this city that you all can attract that type of crowd and really bring the community out for a game like that.
Again, I'm going to give my colleagues a lot of credit. Again, this league, the league that we're in, the 15-4A, the 16-4A, on the other side tonight at Central. It'll be standing room only out there also. It's some really, really. I'll say this first. Memphis has always been known for a hotbed of talent, but the knock around the state, talking to coaches around the country, we don't get enough credit for the coaches we have. Also, we have some guys that do a really good job in the city. Again, they compete, they get their teams prepared. So Memphis is not just one of those things where, hey man, we have a lot of talent, and we do, but you have some good coaches that are preparing these young men to be good every single night, and that raises the level. It raises the intensity. It makes nights like last night that much worse for people like me, the coaches, and that much better for fans.
Coach, we appreciate you so much. Best of luck on the rest of the journey so far for the rest of the season. We know we're out of time. We know you have other things you have to do. So, again, thank you so much, Coach, for taking the time to make sure everybody knows how special Bartlett is.
Don't run them too much, Coach.
Thank you guys very much. You guys have a good one.
You too, Coach.
All right, that was head coach Deon Real of the Bartlett Panthers. We're going to take a quick break, but we're going to do something different. As we head to break, we will show you the extended highlights of that Bartlett Panthers Houston Mustangs game of the second half. We'll be back after this. Once again, we are at the point where we talk about the highs and the lows of the Memphis Tigers basketball team. It seems that Ruben talked about it all the time. When we started at the beginning of the season, it seemed like this team had promise. But now you sit here, the team is 12-15 overall as we're taping this, 7-7 in the conference.
Losers are 4 in a row.
Losers are 4 in a row. And so now me and Ruben, we can yap all day about where do we go with this. But, of course, we like to bring one of our favorite guests on the program. Once again, joining us, Mr. Terry Davis of the Tri-State Defender.
Good to be here, my brother.
What's up with this team, man?
Man, this team is this is one of the worst basketball IQ teams I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
Man. You know, they just make the fundamentals of basketball look like they are Harvard scholars. It's just really bad. It's just sometimes it's hard to watch them because they do so many bad things. You know, for example, Doug had a nice little pass, but the guy didn't pick and roll. He just did the pick, but he didn't roll. And they just, they 35 feet out and fouling a three-point shooter on multiple occasions. It's just you don't foul a jump shot shooter on a three-pointer from 25 feet out when he probably gonna miss it.
So, yeah, IQ, obviously some of those things are IQ problems, but is some of it just like a lack of passion or lack of buy-in?
Lack of caring.
Ready for it to be
Go
over?
ahead and say it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a lack of caring. I think these guys, it's not a chemistry, it's hard to explain.
If you could figure it out, I think Coach Petey's got some money for you.
Because it's not a chemistry issue. It's not a talent issue because these guys can play when they play well. They just do bad things at the wrong time. And like, if you look at the UAB game, they played a horrible first half, but they played a great second half. If you put those two together, you win a game. If they can put that together for 40 minutes for 3 games, this team still can make the tournament. As bad as this team is, this team still has a great chance to make the tournament.
We keep saying if,
right.
if.
Right. It's always about an if because these young men have got to put it on themselves that they want to do it. Until they say we want to do it as a unit, it's not going to happen. No matter what you say to them or what, they have to come together collectively as a unit and say, look, we're going to play this together.
Well, Terry, I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah.
It seems like Penny is almost reaching his breaking point
Yep.
because as the losses keep piling up, he kind of got visibly emotional. In fact, rather than me talk about it, let's roll the tape.
Man, hard situation again in the game. We've guarded against that all week, talking about how we've just been in games, and then all of a sudden for a 5, 6, 7, 8 minute span, we just go to sleep and did the same thing tonight. We were in the huddles, we were in every practice talking about it, reminding each other of it, and it still happened to us. So I have to be better as a coach. The guys have to be better at making plays out on the court.
Questions?
Have you, the 0 for 19 stretch, what is going through your mind as that's unfolding?
I couldn't believe it. I don't know if I've ever been a part of a game where you've missed 19 shots in a row. It was a zone. We got the ball in spots probably 7 or 8 times in that position. Either have a layup or a drop off to a teammate, and we missed all of those. That's kind of tough to recover from because we're in the game. You miss 19 shots in a row. I don't know how many people you're going to beat. We got behind the 8 ball in the first half again.
You hear him there saying, first of all, I agree. I don't know that I've ever, and I've been watching basketball for a long time, I don't know that I've ever seen a team miss 19 shots in a row. I've seen teams go 11, 12-minute spans, but not miss that many shots.
13 and a half minutes without scoring a basket.
Man.
13 and a half minutes. And, when you're not scoring baskets, before that 13 and a half minute drought, they were in the game. And they supposed to be the best team in there. And you was going with them, even with Bradshaw and them being on the floor, being out of foul trouble. You still had a chance. 13 and a half minutes. That's a long time. And you see why he's so frustrated.
I mean, half's only 20 minutes.
Half is only 20 minutes.
So 13 and a half of those 20 minutes, you never scored a bucket.
6 of that, yeah, that's crazy. And of that, you only scored a couple free throws. In one play during that game that really, when they were doing that drought, Doug went up to a layup and Silver came up and goaltended after the ball was halfway down.
Yeah.
It's just you do dumb stuff at the wrong time. And you were still in it at that time. It just that's off the rail.
Do you think that part of that is the inconsistency with the lineups?
Nope.
I mean, this team has probably had like 16, 17 lineup changes. Seems like every game they have a new starting lineup.
Because the ones that's out there are not doing what they need to be doing. You know, everybody say, "Oh, you playing 15 players," because they're not doing what they need to be doing at that time. Because what they're doing is they showing flashes, 2 or 3 minute hits, instead of being consistent over a long stretch of time. So when you go on out there and you letting somebody blow by you, you can't keep that guy out there. You got to pull him out. And you got to get somebody out there with that care factor. You know, like, I love Julius, but, you know, Julius is not the best offensive player on the team. But he tries. He has heart.
He's a bulldog.
But he's not the best scorer on the team. It seemed like since Sir Parker hit that 40 points, it seemed like, you know, he used to shoot everything that touched his hand. Now he stopped shooting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what's really going on. And so I'm saying there's some underlying issues in the background that we don't know about. I think a lot of these guys on this team, I don't know if they like each other personally, but you ain't got to like each other to be on team with each other.
Well, they say they best friends, you know, in the presser.
Well, everybody says everything in the presser. But, I mean,
They be saying they hang out all the time.
well, we all know this. Winning cures a lot.
Right.
You know, we're going to get along a lot better for winning, but when we're losing, if you don't have that, I tell people all the time, if you don't build some true camaraderie,
Right.
then when you start to lose,
Right.
it's that Spider-Man meme,
Right.
where everybody's pointing at each other. And that's 100% what can happen in a locker room in those situations. The other thing I wanted to touch base on, and you kind of mentioned it, is the multiple starting lineups. You know, you talked about it. As I coach a lot of basketball too, and I'm not at the college level, obviously, but I coach a lot of basketball. And I can tell you right now, you don't switch up your starting lineup unless you have to.
Exactly.
And I'm dang sure not going 14, 15 different combinations and playing people out of position unless I have to.
Exactly.
As a coach, I'm just looking for anybody to please step up. And that's what it looks like to me.
And, you know, Penny has mentioned on multiple occasions that he has had to find some people. And you're not finding nobody for doing their job or doing what they need to be doing. You're getting fined because you did something that you shouldn't have been doing. And that's probably another reason for all these different lineups. Because, you know, Bradshaw, as much as people may not like him, he's a vital piece for this cause because he's the only inside presence in there. You know, I love Silver, but he just can't make a layup.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care. It's 3 feet in. He means well. It's not like he's not trying.
He got great intentions.
He has great intentions, but it's all about putting the basket in the hole. You know, Bradshaw, he can do that. You know, even though he doesn't have that dog that we like, but he still has that potential to do that, and he's still the anchor of this team. Between him and Doug, if they're flowing well and they're not fouling and committing turnovers, they always got a chance to win the game. And don't be shocked that they come out and beat Wichita State by double digits in margin.
We'll see. I mean, but you mentioned Sincere Parker, and obviously it was a big news for him this week.
Right.
And it's something we've kind of strayed away from on this program. But obviously he had some legal troubles going in. To get that all taken care of, get those charges dropped. One thing that stood out about this was a lot of times when guys are in legal troubles, especially with him being a domestic violence thing, and that being such a sensitive thing, they hold guys out.
Yeah.
But Penny kept playing them, and obviously it ended up paying off because charges end up being dismissed. But talk about kind of seems like it's been a duality of distractions. You had that, they played through it. Then you had whatever was going on with Zach Davis and Abdul Hakim, that those guys got suspended. Zach Davis obviously ends up getting reinstated. Hakim gets kicked off the team. What is, like I said, you know a little bit more, Ted, kind of what has been going on with this team as far as in that locker room?
Chemistry. It's all chemistry because even though these guys been together for the most part since July, it's just they might like each other, but it seems like their skills, I don't think no one truly knows what lane they need to do. They don't know their role as a player because everything's good. People being in and out of lineup because of supposedly attitude issues or some problems behind the locker room. And Bradshaw even had to sit out a couple games because of some issues. When you have all those underlying issues and you're not going toward the goal of winning games, you know, you're not going to win games. Now, Sincere, you know, since he got that off his plate, which I don't think he pretty much, you know, because once you get on the court, I think you focus on basketball.
Yeah.
I think that's helped him, but there may be some less pressure off the court.
Yeah.
So this team just need to find leaders and role models and people doing their job. Just do the one thing you need to do.
I would say, to your point that you just made about when you were saying that they're getting fined and having problems and all these things, it feels to me like they're part of this issue could be they're already getting paid for their job. Yeah, you can find somebody for missing a meeting or doing whatever, but to me that's a part of this underlying issue that's going to continue to happen. I think in the next couple of years you're going to start to see some changes in the way NIL is done because of all this. Because there's going to be enough coaches get burned, enough teams struggle. I mean, it's happening not just in Memphis, it's happening at Ole Miss, it's happening at across the country at major programs where guys are brought in to do X, Y, and Z, and because I'm already getting paid, I'm not as invested as I was before. I'm just not. I think it's really hard to take a kid, give him a ton of money, and say, hey, go be a great teammate to somebody that you really don't know. How invested are they?
I got a question for you. Don't you get paid every week?
Yeah, I don't like him.
But don't you do what you need to do on a regular basis?
Yes, because I get paid bi-weekly to do my job.
Because you have character issues, because
Yes.
you have, and that's the deal. That's the deal with these young kids right now. They don't have the character issues to do. You know, one thing I said about it, it's one thing to be a person with no money, but if you get a fool some money, you're gonna see a fool with money act a fool, and that's what you're doing. Is a lot of these kids have entitlement issues, and they have no sense of what needs to be done. They know right and wrong, but since they've been entitled so long, it's either their way or the highway, and then 5 years down the road, they're gonna say, man, I wish I had done something different. We tried to tell you to do
Always
something
hindsight
different.
being 2020.
Exactly. Hindsight's always 2020. It's so many guys. Let's like 2 years ago, Quinn, who's on this team that quit, the point guard, he retired, but he didn't spend any of his money. And so he could sit back and not do that. But a lot of these guys going out getting cars, trucks, and paying for everybody. You know, when you pay for your family to go to these road trips to see you play, that money's gone.
They're paying for sections and
Yeah.
food and whatnot.
Exactly.
They got love and
Exactly.
everything.
And then
the nightlife on bills.
instead of putting that money in a 401k or something like that for later down the road, some of these guys, they get this money and then they be broke 3 years later.
Yep, I agree.
So do you think, and I heard this on social media, do you think Memphis needs a general manager?
Memphis has a general manager.
They do?
Yes, they do.
Who?
They have a general manager. Just look it up.
For the basketball team?
For the athletic
Did I stutter?
department. Yeah.
Did I stutter?
Who the GM? I thought Dr. Ed Scott handled all of that. Oh, man, come on, Terry. You can't leave us on the cloud.
But even with the GM, I mean,
They just need a better GM.
I was about to say, well, I wasn't going to say they need a better GM. I was going to say a GM's role now is going to have to be different than what people think it is.
Right.
When you think GM, you're thinking you're handling the money and all that. The evaluation of talent has got to improve.
Right.
And not just talent, character.
Right.
Talent and character. Those things, two things have to improve.
I think the current GM Memphis has is more of an administrative GM. It's not one going out there and going and searching for talent. They may need somebody to go out there, like they do in pro basketball, they have scouts.
Yeah.
They just need to go out there, because Penny can't go out there and recruit the porter, because everybody forget, there was only one porter last year in January.
Yeah.
There's no porter coming this summer. So there's really no transfer porter coming in. So really the guys that's on the team this year really can't leave to go to the porter, because there's no porter until January of next year.
So I knew they did it for football. They killed
all
the
sports.
all NCAA. So there's not a spring portal at all.
Unless something else has changed.
I could have sworn there was a spring
one
portal.
portal a year.
So I knew they were doing it for football because they were locking that down, but I could have swore there was a spring portal for basketball because the basketball season doesn't end until.
I know.
That's crazy if that's the case. I hope you're wrong, because
I hope I'm wrong
all
too.
all those
Because
players.
remember, because they went to one portal a year. Period.
Well, that makes the job even harder. I will say that, and again, I've been saying this for the past several months. The job is already difficult.
Yeah.
Because the season would end. You've got kids leaving.
Yeah.
You've got to find new kids, and that window shuts down, and you need to get them in by May or June so that they can be ready for summer. Right?
Correct,
You have
correct.
to get them in.
Right.
So you really only have a month and a half.
About 6 weeks.
Yeah, to evaluate, get them on campus, and then decide if you're going to sign them or not. That's
Right.
not a lot of time to go through 3,000 people who are in the portal.
And also to figure out how much money you got, because everybody think Memphis has about $25-30 million to play in the portal. But Memphis has about $6 or $7 million to pay all those guys. And and a lot of people, Memphis fans, try to compare Memphis to the history of Memphis.
Yeah.
You can't compare the 80s to now, because it's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
And then you can't compare Memphis to like an Oregon or a Texas, because Texas got this kind of money, Memphis got this kind of money. look at Oregon. They have the biggest NIL budget. Their basketball,
Nike money.
their basketball team is horrible. you think Memphis is bad?
Yeah.
They got a bad record in a good conference with a whole lot of money.
With a whole lot of money.
So people have to adjust their expectation. Everybody want Memphis to go to the tournament and make a run, but you got to you got to be in the right situation, because a lot of people forget that Memphis did win the tournament, the titles last year.
Yeah.
And then last year they got screwed by P.J. Haggerty, switching at the last minute. So you switch at the last minute, there's nothing out there for you to go.
Yep.
What you expect, because this summer, we didn't know we was going to even have a team this year, because for a while, the only thing we had was guards. We didn't have no big man.
Yeah.
And you can see what happened.
Yep.
And see, you cannot get in that situation. So you got to have a commitment from these guys early, not only from the guys who's committing, but from your revenue source that you got to pay these guys.
Mm-hmm. We talked about it last week with Trey Draper when we had him on. Do you think that if PJ had stayed here and got it all sorted out with Penny, that this team would be different, would be in a better situation than right now? Or do you think that the issues go beyond a PJ Haggerty staying in Memphis?
If you had a PJ Haggerty here, if you had got him in on a regular basis early enough, then you could have went out there and got a big man to go there. It's a domino effect. When you don't get PJ, then you got to go find another guard, and then you got to spend that money, your resources elsewhere. If you had PJ Haggerty here with a Bradshaw or another big man, then this team would be completely different.
Yeah, and I know we got to go because we're probably 16 minutes in on this segment. We've been talking. But to your point, you can build around a scoring star.
Right, because he gives you 22 a game.
Yes, you can
No
build
one gives you
around
22 a game on this team consistently.
And that's part of the problem that you mentioned earlier is that nobody knows their roles.
Right.
It's because they're missing that guy.
Right. This team doesn't have a superstar. I'm not saying they don't have leaders, but when Penny said, we're going to do it by committee, you can't do nothing by committee. You got to have a focal go-to guy in this, unless you got 3 American McDonald's All-Americans.
3 guys.
Then you can, we can do a committee by the end. But when you got guys who just got, I'm not going to hate to say that, just an average talent and not superstar talent.
Not great. Yeah.
Just like the Grizzlies.
Well, we just got done talking to Bartlett boys basketball head coach Dion Real, and we know
my boy.
We know Penny is back to placing an emphasis on high school hoops. Do you think that answer is here in Memphis, a guy like Fred Smith at Briarcrest, a guy like Braylon Williams? Now, he still has some time. He's a sophomore for Bartlett. But do you think the answer to that guy is right here?
Yeah, but he's not on this team right now. But Fred is really a really good player, and he has that magnetism that can attract a good guard. Because Fred is one of those guys. He's not a center. He's not a guard. And he's not a power forward. He's just one of those. He's a tweener guy, and with that guy,
Ruben calls an athlete.
Right. So he's a guy that can attract other guys, and you can build around him, and he can make everything better. Because, Penny, everybody thinks Penny ain't gonna be back. Penny will be back next year.
He'll be back.
And then Fred will be on this team, and he's gonna do a little different.
News? Did Fred commit?
Come on, man. Anyway, when Fred's on this team, then they're going to get this team surrounded, and they're going to have a better shot next year because they're going to be a more balanced team because Curtis will be back, Aston will be back, and 1 or 2 other guys on the team will be back, and you have a better basis and foundation to build from.
It's going to be a new-look Tigers team for the most part next year, though.
Yeah, because he's going after little high school because one thing about this day and age, you can't go overly young or you'll get crushed.
Yep.
Because that tournament is, when you start playing against older guys, because pre-COVID, they were playing the Wiseman, they were playing against these 23 and 24-year-olds, and that age is a difference.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. All right, big dog, we got to let you go. We appreciate you taking the time, as always. More knowledge than Rich and I combined.
And we ain't get to talk about the Grizzlies, man. I want to roast.
No, you got to
I want to roast.
All right, let's take another break. When we come back, we go from talking the Tigers to the Rebels. They ain't no better. But we'll talk it all. We'll talk baseball, anything sometimes but basketball with our guy, Steven Willis, right after the break. We just had to keep it generic with the Ole Miss stinger because it just gets to the point that we just keep going into the hole of Ole Miss Rebels basketball just not being good. At least the men's. The men's aren't good.
The women's are great. Coach Yo is doing a phenomenal job with the women's team, but the men have lost like 9 in a row or something.
Yeah.
in something crazy like that.
I didn't think that it would be this bad.
It's bad.
It's 3-11 in conference play as we're taping this, 11-16 overall. So, of course, in anything regarding Ole Miss athletics, we bring on our friend of the program. You can't talk Ole Miss athletics without him. He is the host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, which you can catch right here on the 24 Plus app, YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcast. Once again, welcome to the program, Mr. Steven Willis. Now, Steven, before you say anything, I'm a big wrestling fan. And, you know, my guy Cody Rhodes, he often says, what do you want to talk about? So I pose that question to you. What do you want to talk about?
I guess right now we need to talk about how the baseball team is undefeated. That is very much a high point. They've got a 3-game series over the weekend. You can catch out the games for nothing on YouTube if you want to watch, but they play Baylor, they play Ohio State, they play Coastal Carolina, who was the runner-up for the national title, and Ole Miss is probably going to do fairly well down in Houston. They're playing where the Astros play. Should be a lot of fun, but this baseball team, they're finding different ways to win games, which is something they couldn't do a year ago, and that should give everybody a good bit of hope.
We're going to keep it right here with you, Stephen, for a second. Let me just say, is it odd that we're having to talk highlights of baseball in February? I mean, we're not even out of February yet. We should be getting geared up for March Madness.
Yeah, this is a team that was fresh off of a Sweet 16 run, you know. Sean Padula and all of those guys, the Ole Miss basketball team was good last year, like really good. And you had a couple of evaluations that just went sideways on Chris Beard, and all of a sudden you have what's before you to where they haven't won a basketball game in about a month.
Man, a month in basketball season is forever. Can we just say that? If you don't win a basketball game in 2-3 weeks, that's an eternity in the high school basketball, the college basketball world.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's not just that they're losing, it's the way they're losing. Like they were up by 13, 14 points on Texas A&M and didn't score the last 4 minutes of the game, ended up losing by 3. It is just an example of a team that just, for whatever you want to look at it, it's just broken. They can't figure out how to get it across the finish line. I don't know if it's not having a Batman on the team. I don't know if it's just not having a basket getter, or the fact that over the last 3 years, even last year, there was a struggle rebounding the basketball for Ole Miss. I don't know exactly what the problem is. I'm sure Chris Beard will get it fixed. I have no doubt that would happen. But this year, it just didn't work out.
How much grace do you think we have to give Chris Beard? Because I know in sports we become very quick of, what have you done for me lately? Obviously, Chris Beard, he can't have another season like this again, or else we might be having another discussion about how much longer his time in Oxford will be.
Yeah, I don't know about that. And this is, like, if it was Mark Pope, yeah, that's a different conversation.
Oh, man, I almost wanted to get into that, but this ain't a Kentucky show.
Yeah. Or even Penny in Memphis, it'd be a different conversation. I think at Ole Miss, basketball, men's basketball is the third or the fourth sport, depending on how it's going. It's football, it's baseball. He gets 3 years for going to the Sweet 16, in my opinion, no matter if the next 3 years just fall apart. I don't think that that's going to happen. I do think that when it comes to men's basketball, they handle things a little bit differently in Oxford.
Now, I know we want to talk about men's basketball quite a bit, but I do think we got to take a second and give a shout out to the women's team, Coach Yo.
Yeah,
even though they lost to LSU, which is a game that they could have won, they could have beaten LSU at that game. Still an amazing atmosphere, ton of people, a great game, and even got some trolling by Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, let's get into that. Let's talk about that.
Ooh, what do y'all want to know?
So what? Okay, yeah. So since you asked, what was that? Why is he going at it with Coach Yo on Twitter? Like, why is he trolling? What was that all about? What are we doing? Keep it football.
Okay, if we want to get into it, we can get into it. Lane Kiffin is fixated on Ole Miss for one reason. He was not allowed to coach the playoffs and go to LSU. He wants to burn the whole program to the ground. He has immense dislike, and he has made Ole Miss the Super Bowl for LSU in their first season. Whenever they come up to Oxford, they're going to treat it like he used to treat the Alabama game. And when LSU defeats Ole Miss, he is going to take shots on Twitter. That's what he does. And he kind of picked the wrong person to take a shot at as well, because Coach O doesn't play. And you want to get on Twitter and say something, you better be able to back it up, because one of the most funny things in the world, she had a GIF just set up of Lane Kiffin being struck out in slow pitch softball by Coach Yo, and it's the funniest thing in the world. If anybody has not seen it, you should watch that. But yes, a person struck out in slow pitch softball. Now, granted, it was a fundraiser, Grove Collective celebrity softball game, but he still struck out. And Coach O was like, "Hey, you need to quit while you're ahead, because I got the files." And I was like, "I don't know what that means, but I wouldn't mess with it."
Well, she was quick with the response.
Yeah.
Quick with, and I respect that, because for me, why would you even try to tank that? It was a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
LSU won, but it's not like Coach Kiffin was coaching. Kim Mulkey's got that, he don't, she definitely don't need him to co-sign. She is a legend in her own right. So I did think it was super messy and unnecessary, but kind of par for the course since he's left.
Yeah, and he deleted the tweet. That's how you know that he kind of got run on social media a little bit, is because he deleted the tweet. And we'll see. As it gets closer, as the game on September 19th gets a little bit closer, you're going to have game day. You're going to have all the big game field. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Anybody that is wanting all of this to stop, it's just not going to go away until at least after this ball game.
Steven, what do you feel about Stephen A. Smith coming to Oxford? And, obviously there was the controversy of what he said about Oxford earlier in the year and on First Take. What do you feel about seeing him finally kind of take in that atmosphere? And he seemed like he had a good time.
Yeah, this is the thing. The narrative that he took for somebody that hadn't been down there and been around, it's a lazy narrative that was 40 years ago narrative.
Yeah.
And so if you go down and see it, it's not going to be that way at all. So of course he had a good time, but I understand that that's the low-hanging fruit argument, that whenever Ole Miss ends up losing at anything, a coach or a recruit or something like that, that's kind of low-hanging fruit. Well, it must have been because of that. It wasn't because of that, but I understand that somebody in Connecticut, it doesn't take the time to research actually what's going on and just kind of takes the lowest hanging fruit. I'm glad that he came down to Ole Miss. I'm glad he actually got to see with his own eyes exactly what was going on. And he's going to be back for guess what? The Ole Miss LSU game. My money is he is going to be the celebrity guest picker for that game on game day for that weekend.
Let's stay touching on that, Steven, because I am a person who, I'm right there. So before I got this job and before, I started, really learning about Ole Miss, I was like Stephen A. I had the stigma. I remember I used to pass through, me and Ruben both went to Oklahoma State. I'm from Atlanta. I would pass through coming home from Oklahoma State, and I'd have to pass through Oxford, and I used to always have those same mind concepts that Stephen A. had. But covering this team for a year during football season and being down in Oxford and just how nice the people are. And I talk to people who look like me, and I ask them straight up, hey, is it like that down here? And I'm like, nah, it ain't never happened. So I'm glad that Stephen A. Smith got a chance to see it for his own, because I was just like him. And I love Oxford. I told my dad, I was like, man, if I have kids and they wanted to go to Ole Miss, hey, I wouldn't be against it. And my dad was still the typical, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I'm sure, because I didn't been down there. I like the people in Oxford.
Yeah, the 60s and the 50s happened in the state of Mississippi. There's no sense in running away from that. But Ole Miss and Oxford has done a fantastic job of actually learning from that. And now you have this oasis in North Mississippi of just inclusion and everything there. And Ole Miss can be proud of what they have become in the ashes of that, because the ghost of Mississippi and all the documentaries that you see from like 1962, that could have went a completely different direction than it did, and props to Ole Miss for going the right way on that.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. We've been talking about a lot of stuff, and we haven't really had a chance, and forgive me, but I really don't want to talk Ole Miss basketball anymore unless you guys are really just dying to. Can we start talking about Ole Miss football and what things are looking? I know you're on Portal Watch every day, seeing kind of who should people be keeping an eye on? Like who's coming in that people need to know about? How good is this team going to be?
Well, the first thing that you need to remember and think of is Ole Miss has the best quarterback and the best running back and the best kicker perhaps in the country.
Yep.
I mean, that's everybody. So you're going into a football season with that, you're going to be pretty good. So Pete Golding just had to keep the Ferrari on the road, so to speak. And he completely knocked it out of the park on the defensive side of the ball. They recruited defensive linemen, linebackers, defensive backs, because last year he couldn't play man coverage. You can't have an aggressive defense and not be able to play man coverage. It just doesn't work, because when the other team knew that Ole Miss was playing man coverage, it usually was a big play or a bust or something happened. This year's class was recruited with the idea that man coverage was going to be played. They got Jay Crawford out of Auburn. He was the best cornerback on perhaps the best defense in all of the SEC a year ago. Edwin Josephs, the free safety out of Florida State, who's kind of a ball hawk. Janelle Aguero, a former five-star coming over from Georgia, started on that defense. Sharif Denson, they have remade their secondary, and the young guys are going to come up. I think you're going to see an Ole Miss team that doesn't have to score 30 points a game to win next season, but I think they're going to score 40 points a game anyway.
Sharif Denson, I'm wondering if he's any kin of mine,
Probably not.
Well, we know it's a lot of Diaz's out there, so it could be some kin to Diaz's. But, Steven, is it safe to say, we talk about it, obviously, the Trinidad Chambliss news, and I wanted to touch on this last week when we had you on. Is it safe to say that Trinidad Chambliss walks in as the best SEC quarterback and a, for sure, top 5 Heisman guy?
Yes, the odds came out on FanDuel.com. Trinidad was 8-1, tied for the top odds to win the Heisman Trophy.
There we go.
So, yeah, that's not just us saying it. That's the odds maker, the people that have money riding on this decision. So, him and C.J. Carr right now are tied. They're just ahead of Arch Manning. I think it's interesting, like I said, the best quarterback, the best running back, and the best kicker. That is 3 positions that affect winning. And if you don't think a kicker affects winning, go back and watch the playoffs for Ole Miss this year when he was making 57 and 58-yard field goals like they were nothing. That was still one of the most impressive things I've seen. But Trinidad had a generational run. Kewan tied the school record. I can't believe he ran for 1,567 yards and directly, absolutely tied Quinshon Judkins. It's interesting to see. It's going to come down to the defense. Ole Miss has an electric special teams. If the defense is stingy, if the defense is closer to 2024 than 2025, this is going to be a team that can play in Atlanta. They can do the playoff thing again, and everything's on the table. Even though the schedule is tougher, this team is better.
There's no such thing as an easy schedule in the SEC anyway. But to your point, you mentioned how they focused on the defense a lot during the portal. But I do remember several games last year when those young corners were being picked on in ISO coverage consistently. So it'd be great to see that fixed. What about the offensive line? That's the million-dollar question, because I don't care how good Trinidad is. I don't care how good Kewan is. If they don't have the big boys, the big hogs to handle it.
They got that Kyrus guy, didn't he? I don't know how to pronounce his name. Kyrus Kearns, I think.
I don't know,
Carius Karn.
Carius Kearns, thank you.
He transferred from LSU. He was the top transfer portal addition they got. He is going to probably be the right tackle for Ole Miss this year. At least that's the plan. Ole Miss returns all 3 in the interior of the offensive line, including the offensive lineman of the year in the state of Mississippi in college football last year, and Patrick Kudas, Memphis native, by the way. Bryson Sanders at center, and they're going to get Delano Townsend at left guard. And whenever he got inserted in the line last year, Ole Miss kind of took off a little bit. Left tackle, Terez Davis, started as a true freshman at Maryland, transferred, got injured, fell behind a little bit. This year, it's going to be up to him in spring to kind of lay the groundwork with what happens. Tommy Kinsler, a big guy from Miami, transferred in as well. And Connor Halls is from originally Kissimmee, Florida. Ole Miss pretty high on him at the tackle position as well. I like where they sit at the moment on the offensive line, but you're right. Losing Jaden Williams and losing Diego Pounds, that significant losses. The pieces are in place, though, for them to make a run.
All right, Steven, we could keep you here all day.
Yeah.
But we won't. I'm sure you want to eat lunch. I'm starving like Marvin, too.
Always. He's always hungry. Always hungry.
All right, so we're going to let you go, Steven. We appreciate you taking the time to break down all this Ole Miss, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between.
Yeah. Really quick, Steven, tell us what you're working on the Locked On Network.
Well, we're waiting to see the dates for spring practice because Ole Miss spring break is on March 7th. It begins. So spring practice usually starts around that time frame. So we'll pay attention to that. We'll look at college baseball, the big tournament in Houston this weekend, and SEC play. Ole Miss doesn't play, I don't know, but one team that's outside of the RPI top 25 in the SEC. The baseball schedule is going to be a bear. And we'll see if Coach Yo can get the legs back on the Lady Rebs after 4 games in the state, 4 games in a week to where they just kind of tried to do the 1899 Sewanee thing. So we'll see if they can kind of get that fixed as well.
We appreciate your good work as always, Steven. It's always hotty-totty over in your parts. We will catch you next week talking more Ole Miss athletics.
All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we've got to talk about some of the best things we saw.
The best things we saw, and it's a bunch of quotables. You're going to love his, you're going to love mine, you're going to like mine better. But
impossible.
We'll see.
We'll
be back.
The judge.
Hey man, I think you got him.
You want what he's having? No. That's what I thought. Justice for Gotham.
All right, there you go. Best thing I saw. This TikToker said it best. Marissa Voss with the best description of how the U.S. feels about their win over Canada for the first time since the Miracle on Ice in 1980. The United States has beaten Canada in Olympic hockey for the gold medal. Jack Hughes scored the winning goal in OT, but honestly, it was that version of it that
I know you care more about that TikTok video than you did the actual game.
Absolutely.
I was like, I know this guy ain't watched a lick of hockey in his life. He probably don't know what a high stick is.
Never seen it in my life.
Don't know what a penalty box is. But, anytime we can beat those Canadians.
Get it.
I can't stand Canada. I like when they lose and everything. I was talking trash when we beat them in baseball, which he also doesn't watch.
Never.
I was talking trash when we beat them in hockey, which he also doesn't watch.
Never.
So, always USA around here, the red, white, and blue. The men and the women bringing home the gold.
Yeah. So hats off to the hockey teams and all the Olympians who are bringing home gold. And again, justice for Gotham.
Could you name 3 players on
Couldn't
the hockey
tell you right now. Not for $1 million, brother.
All right, can we roll my best thing I saw? You'll know these guys.
I don't know if you know the story, but second movie, Blue Chips, it was already a problem for me to go and shoot movies. You're not going to be able to work out. So it was in my contract. I got to work out from 8 to 12. And this motherfucker is diming me up like crazy. 6'7", motherfucker smooth. And I'm running. And as soon as I go like that, the fucking ball's there. I'm spinning and he throwing the lobs. I was like, yo, man, who the is this actor? Cause we on the movie set, that's Penny Hardaway. And I can remember before I left, us losing and getting swept, D. Scott come to me and said, yo, man, you got to take over. Hey, man, you know who Penny Hardaway is? Yeah, we might not get him. We want the first pick. We want to go with C-Web. Nah, that. You're going to have to get Penny. Yeah, I don't know if we can get Penny. Listen to what the I'm telling you right now. My deal is up in 2 years. If you don't give me what I want to help me win this championship, I'm going to have to look elsewhere. They draft Chris Webber. I'm picking up lamps. I'm just tearing the house apart. Because I'm like, these didn't listen to me. They tested me. They say, wait. The Orlando Magic make a trade with the Golden State Warriors for Penny, for Chris. And I was like, oh, they did it. They listened to me.
So obviously that was a snippet from the Draymond Green show. And, you know, obviously it's about a guy who we talk about on this program all the time, Coach Penny Hardaway, Memphis legend, but obviously we know him a lot from the Orlando Magic. And the reason they were talking about it is because it was 18 years on the day when Blue Chips came out. And I know you've seen that movie.
Yeah, great
That's my
movie.
favorite sports movie, like, period.
Nah, it's not my favorite, but it's a great
It's
movie.
mine. I mean, it's like that, Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans,
Above
Any
the
Given
Rim,
Sunday.
Any Given Sunday, White Man Can't Jump.
White Man Can't Jump is my all-time.
But Blue Chips,
Give
like
me some bean pies.
Nick Nolte, Shaq, Penny. And so they were that's the reason why that was all back in the spotlight. But I just thought that was a funny story. The funniest thing was he was said, you know, I'm going to leave in 2 years, and he still ends up leaving.
And he left anyway. All right, so again, as I mentioned before, probably enjoyed the best thing I had more than yours. And that's okay.
No, they didn't.
Okay.
You don't even know about
It's okay.
hockey.
It's still a great TikTok.
Exactly.
All right.
People like mine. Mine was funnier than yours.
That's all the time we have today.
Shout out to everyone who made today's show possible. I'm talking about Leanna Davis, Brooklyn High, but I have to take a moment to give a special shout out to a guy who was a big part of this show, Jared Robinson. It is his final day here at ABC 24. He has been instrumental, tremendous in helping me out with this show. He was my right-hand man. He's on the bigger things in Houston. We wish him the best of luck. I thank him for everything he's done behind the scenes and making me better and everything and all of that. So, Jared, good luck.
Yeah, Jared is going to have a great time in Houston. Phenomenal, young,
That's
talented
your
man.
hometown.
Yeah, he's going to the H. So Jared did a great job when we did our special at Memphis. He put that whole thing together, so they're getting a great dude. All right, well, let's get the rest of our shout-outs so we can get out of here. I'm starving.
Obviously, big shout-out to our guy, Steven Willis. Big shout-out to Bartlett head coach Dion Real. Big shout-out to Terry Davis. Big shout-out to CJ Hurt from Grind City Media. We always have a party here on the 24th floor.
I didn't get the note about a party, but that's okay. I was here anyway. That's going to do it.
Ruben's the guy who shows up to places exactly on time.
No, I'm always
They say I'm having a party at 6 o'clock.
late.
Ruben going to be there at 6. He'd be like, you know, I got to go at 8.
I got to go at 6:08. All right, that's it.
Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you on the other side.